less. That's been in the hopper for 3.5 weeks. I only have like 400 or 500 of those. Those will go just like that.
I don't think that Showstopper will air again. So I'd love, if we can strategize and get the time to do it, to be able to re-air it, because I think it'll sell it on its own on our website. In the meantime, let's continue.
Okay.
We have before us our 1990, look, go ahead.
Speaking of prior year American Silver
go.
Eagles that are, and I have to understand, $899. This is a really good price, okay? Because what happens is when the United States government first started making the Silver Eagle in 1986, it was to great fanfare. I mean, everybody wanted it, but understand, they didn't view it as a coin. It is a coin, it's a silver dollar. They just viewed it as a chunk of silver. Just a round piece, a 1 ounce silver round in essence, as opposed to a coin. But it is a coin because it's the United States silver dollar. So they didn't take particularly good care of it. The United States Mint wasn't very good at making these coins. Many years, as a matter of fact, particularly in 1995, before they stamp the coin or mint the coin, they have to, the unstruck coin's called a planchet. But you have to prepare it to be struck. And they'd run it through these baths to clean them off. Well, they didn't kind of wash the coins off, and so they get spots on them. It's just horrible. Early year American Silver Eagles in absolutely perfect condition are almost impossible to find. As a matter of fact, you just go up 1 year to the 1996. The 1996, you can add a zero literally to this. $9,000 for a 1996, 1 year later than this. I've got the Mint State 70, 1995. I've got a few of these coins. We found an original hoard of these coins, and I literally had, what did we end up going through, about 10,000 coins? We ended up out of 10,000 coins, we have like 100 70s. Out of 10,000 coins. Do the math. The grading fees alone are almost $500,000 on 10,000 coins. And we have like a little over 100 Mint State 70s out of that entire batch.
And remind us again what Mint State 70 means for customers who are new.
Great point there. I just assume everybody understands that, and it's just not the case. In coin collecting, as in any collecting, the single most important determining factor of value is what? It's condition. The higher the grade, the more it's worth. In coin collecting, we grade on a 70-point scale. It's not a 100-point scale. So Mint State 70 matters. Mint State 70 matters a lot. So a 1996 American Silver Eagle in Mint State 69 is about a $99 coin. In Mint State 70, it's about a $9,000 coin. That's the difference a single point of grade makes. It's what we get, what we call conditional rarity. So there are certain coins that in their highest Mint State 70 grade, they simply don't exist, or they exist in extraordinarily limited quantities. This is one of those coins, and this is one of those opportunities that you're going to have right here to be able to do the 1995 with that. These early, particularly the mid-90s coins, are almost impossible to find in absolutely perfect condition. So for instance, you were one of the people that just bought the set that we had, the 21st century. This is the way you have to back collect these, is ultimately what it comes down to. You know, get the 2000, I think I have that on hsn.com. I think it's, you know, $299 or something like that. The 1999 is a little less. Then we get to 98, 97, 96, 95.